I always knew I was background noise in my own family. My name is Natalie Greer, and I grew up in Portland, Oregon, in a house where my younger brother Dylan could do no wrong. He was the star quarterback in high school, graduated valedictorian, and had this natural charm that made him the center of attention in every room. Me? I was quiet. I spent weekends sketching, journaling, or reading old poetry collections I picked up at secondhand shops. I once came in second place in a national writing competition. They spelled my name wrong on the certificate, but I didn't care. I framed it myself and taped it to my bedroom wall. My parents didn't frame it. In fact, my dad glanced at it and said, "It's just writing. Not like what Dylan does. Now that's real talent." That sentence carved a hollow inside me I didn't even realize I was filling for years. I stopped trying to impress them, stopped expecting enthusiasm for my work or praise when I got into grad school. I just let myself fade into the background. And in that silence, I met Lucas Rivera. We met at a university lecture on contemporary ethics and ended up sitting in the campus cafe until closing. Lucas wasn't flashy, wasn't loud, he just listened, really listened. When I showed him my short story about a girl who disappeared in plain sight, he read it 3 times and said, "You're not invisible. You're just looking in the wrong mirrors." That was it for me. We fell in love slowly, tenderly. He was the kind of man who memorized my coffee order, who called my writing brave, and who held my hand during holidays at my parents' house while I sat across from people who barely acknowledged my presence. When he proposed, it was on a quiet overlook during a trip to Cannon Beach. There were no fireworks, no grand gestures. Just 2 people who had always known they were home in each other. Telling my parents felt like walking into an ambush unarmed. My mom barely looked up from her crossword puzzle. "Oh, that soon? Are you sure you're ready?" My dad said something about hoping I wouldn't get too emotional during the ceremony. That was it. Still, we invited them, sent them a handwritten invitation, arranged a shuttle from Portland to the venue in Ashland, removed every excuse. A week before the wedding, I called just to confirm. Mom sounded distracted. "I think we have something that weekend, or maybe Dylan's stopping by. I'll have to check." That same tone, the one she used when I asked if she was coming to my college graduation, she hadn't. The wedding day was beautiful. Autumn light streamed through the chapel windows, soft music played, and Lucas looked at me like I was the most important person in the world. His family flew in from Albuquerque. My friends from college showed up early, helping set up the reception area. There was laughter, warmth, real love. But 2 chairs remained empty. My parents' names written on crisp place cards. I tried to stay present. I focused on Lucas's hand in mine, on the vows we whispered, on the way my best friend Rachel cried softly during the ceremony. But then I checked my phone. Dylan had posted on Instagram, a barbecue in the backyard, my parents' backyard, laughter, beer, steaks on the grill. Even their dog Jasper wore a party hat. My wedding wasn't just ignored, it had been replaced. I walked out into the evening air, the twilight sky stretched overhead, and the first stars blinked through. My dress swayed with the wind. Lucas followed, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "They're the ones who missed out," he said quietly. I nodded. I couldn't speak yet. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't devastated, but because I had stopped giving them that kind of power years ago. Back in our hotel suite later that night, after the guests were gone and my shoes were off, I looked at Lucas and said, "They don't get to be part of our future unless they earn it." He didn't hesitate. "I'm with you, whatever you decide." Weeks passed. No call, no message, not even a card. And I realized that their absence wasn't a crack in my life anymore. It was a choice. Theirs. But one day I needed to know why. That's when I decided to go back. 2 months after the wedding, I drove back to Portland. Not for reconciliation, not even for peace. I just needed to know why they didn't come, why they didn't call. Why I felt like a stranger to the people who raised me. The house hadn't changed much. Same beige siding, same wind chimes by the porch. But something about it felt smaller. Like the illusion of home had shrunk with me. I rang the bell. My father answered. His eyes flickered in surprise, then settled into something unreadable. "Natalie," he said flatly. "Didn't expect you." I stepped in. The air smelled like old lemon polish and whatever my mom had baked that morning. She was at the kitchen table, flipping through a home and garden magazine, sipping tea. She didn't stand up. Just blinked, then said, "Oh, hi." I sat across from them, my heart not racing, just steady, detached. "I came to ask why," I said. "Why didn't you come to my wedding?" My mother didn't look at me. We assumed it was something low-key, nothing big or formal. "Besides," my dad added, "Dylan was in town. We hadn't all been together in a while." There was a silence that could have shattered glass. Then he chuckled. "Come on, Nat. Don't be so sensitive. It's not like it was a royal wedding or anything. We'll come to the next one if there is one." He laughed. She laughed too. And something in me went still. Not angry, not hurt, just done. That's when I knew. I wasn't there for answers. I was there for confirmation that I'd been right to walk away. That moment hardened into something I carried quietly. From that day forward, I didn't try anymore. Not when they missed my birthday. Not when Lucas spent a week in the hospital with appendicitis. Not when I published my first article in a national journal. No message, no call, no acknowledgement. Their silence became normal. Like an old clock that stopped ticking and no one bothered to wind again. And then, almost a year later, came a text from my cousin. "Just thought you should know. Your mom's been diagnosed. Ovarian cancer. Stage 2. She didn't want to tell you, but I thought you deserved to know." I didn't respond right away. I just stared at the screen, my hands cold. She was still my mother. But was I still her daughter? I sat with that question for days, then weeks. Lucas never pressured me. He just held me, made tea, and gently said one night as rain tapped against the windows, "If you go for you. Not to fix anything. Not for them. Just so you don't carry regret." So I went. The house looked tired. The once pristine lawn was patchy. The flower beds were overgrown. The wind chimes were silent. My dad opened the door and just stared. "You look different," he said before stepping aside. Inside, my mom was wrapped in a blanket on the couch. Her hair was thinner now, patches already missing. Her skin was pale. She looked older than she should have. She glanced up and blinked like I was part of a dream. "I didn't expect you," she said. "I didn't expect to come," I replied. There was a long pause. Then she added, "You always had a strong heart." It wasn't an apology. It wasn't anything really, just words. But this time, I didn't shrink. "I came because I needed closure," I said, sitting across from her. Not forgiveness, not explanations, just to say the things you never had the courage to hear. She shifted in her seat but didn't speak. I continued, voice calm but unshakable. "You laughed when I asked why you skipped my wedding. You thought it was harmless, but do you know what that felt like? Like begging for affection from people who were supposed to be my foundation." She looked away. Her hands trembled slightly. "You poured everything into Dylan. Because he was easy to celebrate, loud, flashy, confident. You never saw the daughter who stayed up late writing essays, who paid her own tuition, who didn't ask for much, just to be seen." A tear slid down her cheek. She didn't wipe it. I'm not angry anymore, I said. I'm just sad. Sad for the girl I was. Sad for the version of you who might never understand what you lost. Silence followed. Heavy, hollow silence. As I stood to leave, she reached out with a trembling hand, barely grazing mine. I don't know how to fix it, she whispered. You don't, I said gently. You just learn to live with the consequences of what you chose, just like I did. And then I walked out. Out of that house, out of that history, lighter. Not because it was over, but because I was no longer carrying the hope they'd ever become who I needed them to be. 3 months passed. No follow-up, no message from my mother, no acknowledgement from my father. It was as if my visit never happened. But something had changed. Not in them, but in me. I no longer replayed old conversations or imagined different childhoods. I no longer waited for a birthday call that wouldn't come. That aching space in me where their approval used to matter had finally closed. Then one gray morning in late April, my phone buzzed. It was an email from my father. Subject: Help. We're falling behind on your mom's hospital bills. Anything you can do would mean a lot. I stared at the message for a long time, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with the kind of quiet understanding that only comes after you've made peace with the truth. I didn't respond right away. I let it sit in my inbox for a full day, then another. Lucas noticed, of course. He didn't ask what I was going to do. He trusted I already knew. That night, I sat down at my desk, opened a blank email and began to type. Subject: Help. You needed me when I was a child. You chose not to show up. Now you need me again, and I've built a life without you in it. I wish you peace. But I won't set myself on fire to keep you warm. I pressed send, not as an act of revenge, not out of cruelty, but as an act of clarity. There's this myth that forgiveness must come with reconnection, that if we're good enough, kind enough, we'll eventually win the love we were denied. But the truth is, love, to be real, must be mutual. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away without rage, without drama, and without looking back. I built a life with Lucas, filled with slow mornings, spontaneous road trips, shared books, and late-night conversations that always felt safe. I published more, lectured occasionally, mentored young writers who reminded me of the girl I once was, waiting to be seen. Years passed. Then one spring, I was invited to speak at a TEDx event in Seattle. The topic? Blooming without water. When I stepped onto that stage, the lights were bright, the audience silent, the microphone warm in my hand, and I told my story. Of a girl who grew up invisible, of a wedding with 2 empty chairs, of a daughter who stopped begging and started building. I spoke not for applause, but because I had finally learned to clap for myself. When I finished, the room rose to its feet. In the back row, I saw Lucas, hands in his pockets, eyes shining with quiet pride. Not because the world was listening, but because I was. For the first time, my voice wasn't a whisper or an apology. It was a declaration, a truth, a light. I had spent so many years waiting for people to tell me I mattered, but in that moment, I realized I had been enough all along, and now the whole world knew it too.